For this course, it's online, it's for free, and we have to mitigate actions in the transport sector immediately to achieve the Paris Agreement. Because today we will go a little bit beyond the technical issues and see like what is the connection to the international negotiations? Why is MRV important to also support countries for the international commitments for climate change? And with this, as you will see on the next slide, we organized this meet and greet series, and today we have the last session. So we have already the recordings also available on our website. We started with a deep dive into the MRV for the e-mobility e-buses project in Colombia, followed by a chat about data collection in Uganda with Grace. And 2 weeks ago, as Idrisu already shared, we have a chat with Gemma, who works on the bus rapid transport lines in 5 pilot cities in Indonesia, and also have there like more inside views regarding how to collaborate with cities and private bus operators. So today, it's amazing to have our GSZ colleagues Papondhanai from Thailand on board, who's actually the main creator of the first MRV course back in the days 2017, I think, in Thailand. So it started as a regional project. And we have also Marlan Pillai. He works for the UNFCCC Secretariat. Also, they're in charge for the transparency work and the transport sector. So it's amazing to have these two main knowledge people here on board. So I would like to invite our two speakers to switch on your cameras, please, so that we get to know you a little bit more. And my first question, so good to see you both, is for my GSZ Thailand colleagues. So Papondhanai, you're working currently for the supporting the Thai ministry for the NDC update, but I'm sure that's just a small scope of your work because you have also a long-standing experience in the topic. So maybe you could share a little bit more about your work and your collaboration with the Ministry for Transport in Thailand.
Yes, thank you, Kirsten, for your questions. I'm very delighted to be here today to share my experience with everyone. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Papondhanai. I'm working in GSZ Thailand as senior advisors. So I'm started working here since 2012 and supporting the Ministry of Transport and actually also Ministry of Environment in the beginning on like a transport and climate change topic at the time. So after we start working on, we start working on like a NAMA, if you're nationally appropriate mitigation action at the time, together with the MRV. So we have to see first that what are requirement, what are the gaps of our partner here in Thailand. And then that's why we decided that not only supporting them to find the policy for the mitigation action for the transport sectors, but also how to quantify the emission reductions, calculate that. So we come up with first, so we do the status quo in Thailand that what data are available at the time, and also can do the methodology. They know that can do that. So we did like the MRV study for Thailand at the time, and from that study we used that one to develop the training course at the time in the first project that I'm working with. After that, start a new project after the first project. So changed the topic into urban transport policy. So I'm responsible for the congestion charging study for Bangkok as well for the previous projects. No, and that project also covered the electrification of the public transport in Thailand, which work with my colleague as well. And recently, I'm working in 2 new projects. The Thai-German cooperation on energy, mobility, and climate, which focus on the energy transition in Thailand, which drive the transition of cleaner energy for transport sector, renewable energy, biomass, and industry are focused only in the transport sector, which working mainly on the electrifications in Thailand. And another one, the recent project is an improved project, which is working on the vehicle efficiency policy in Thailand. So this is my recent work. So, and lately, last one that I'm working on is the revisions of the NDC action plan for the transport sector in Thailand. because I'm working with also with Queen Kirsten as well. And that's the brief work of me after 10 years.
No, thank you very much. So, and I think also when we get the questions from the participants in this meet and greet, we are delighted to have you here on board and that you can share also more regarding the collaboration with the government and how to support what is possible and what we can do. With this, I would like to give the floor to our second speaker for today, Mr. Panan Pillai. You're working for the Climate Secretariat now for over 12 years. And we are collaborating like for the regional MRV training, for example, also for this course. So now we are also able to get a confirmation from the Climate Secretariat that this course is follow the guidelines, and therefore also participants which will pass this exam will have the certificate with the UNFCCC logo, which is amazing. Thanks also for this collaboration, Marlan, to support this. So maybe you can share a little bit more about your working areas when it comes to transparency, and what is the relationship why transport is part of your interests here.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Kirsten, and also my co-presenter for today, Tom. Nice to see you again. And so it's really exciting to be part of this community of people doing great things in the transport sector. I congratulate everyone on the online course that was developed. And I think it's really a big step forward to bring greater awareness and on MRV of in the transport sector. So congratulations for that. Well, you know, when I started gaining an interest in environmental management, I was working in South Africa as an accreditation manager. And one of the areas where we were accrediting was testing laboratories in ambient air quality and vehicle emissions. So that was my first experience of anything to do with transport, the transport sector. And then when I joined the UNFCCC, it gave me a lot of exposure of what countries were doing, because one of the tasks in my job was to go out to some of the developing countries and have a look at some of the mitigation projects that they had put in place to gain the issuance of certified emission reduction credits through the clean development mechanism. And then some of the projects that I had to look at was like a bus rapid transit systems, you know. And so then my exposure to transport sector grew. And over time, this culminated, as Kirsten pointed out, this collaboration with many partners, one of which is the GIZ, to try and do more in the transport sector. So my current work is exactly that, is supporting developing countries, have a look at their mitigation actions, but then also how do they monitor or measure, report, and verify the GHG emissions in the sector, and then what sort of policies and actions that they can take.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and also good to understand that you're already in your life before joining the UN, you were working on these topics. It was also new for me. I have one question now to Papondhanai regarding, so you shared already that you're mainly cooperating with the Ministry for Transport in Thailand, and that you also created this first design of this MRV course. Can you share a little bit more what were the needs you identified by your partners to create this course, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Kirsten, for the questions. So I have to bring us back to 2012. At the time, ML is such a new topic for everyone. And I have to work not only in the midst of transport, but also Ministry of Environment, because they have to report to Minister of Environment, and both of them have to be on the same page. They have to build like a first acting. They have no idea about the MRV first, how to calculate. So their needs first for sure is the capacity building on the technical of what kind of data are needed, what will be the methodology following IPCC guideline, for example. So this kind of thing is here. But to do that, we have to understand first what are the background or what kind of work they have to do first. So they didn't do it by themselves. They hired consultant, expert to do it. But the problem is that they cannot verify or investigate the work from the consultant. So that's why in the beginning, we aim that we would like to build capacity of our partner or governmental officer at the time to be able to understand the data, to be able to verify the data, and to be able to check the result of the expert and consultant work. Not to be an expert on MRV that can calculate everything by themselves. And this is the original idea of when we create the MRV course at the time. So the course, that's why design in like a modules that the concept of the transport and climate change, and model 2 we focus on the greenhouse gas calculations, and model 3 is on the mitigation reductions. So at that time, we design model because there are various target groups. So that's why we divide into 3 modules. And then this comes from the needs that we send the questionnaire into the region in the ASEAN region at that time. So what are they working? What kind of work they are doing? So we use that to design the course as well. And it means the each part of the module, what are needed. And we have like a international consultant, national consultant working with us to develop the course together. And not only that, we pilot with the Thailand officer that have to work in the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Transport, and so other countries as well, in at the time Malaysia and Philippines, and also Vietnam for this course. And then that's why we revise the course to adjust it to make it suitable for our target group at the time is the governmental officers, because the need is not to build them as an expert, but to let them understand how to verify data that they will get from other ministry, from other organizations, and understand how to calculate, but not calculate by themselves. And that is the needs that I found and we used for develop the course. And at the time, we haven't designed for the online course yet. It designed as a very interactive course. So this is very successful at the time because the feedback from the participant at the course is that they can exchange by have a different way of learning, because we use like an adult learning method in designing the course, and that I thought it very suitable for our policymaker because they have their own experience and they can exchange and learn from others, and that's why how the course has developed at that time.
Thank you very much for sharing. Also to highlight that the interactive part is very important, and also that adult learning is another point, because we are working together with people who have work experience, maybe already in the sector, maybe they're new in the sector, and to address this appropriately. Thank you very much for sharing, and also I hope we could translate this into the online format. So now, going back to Marlan, as we discussed already the topic about MRV and transparency. So for some of the people here, these are also new acronyms. So maybe you can enlighten us a little bit more regarding what is the relationship between MRV, so measurement, reporting, verification, and the enhanced transparency framework. What is the relationship to transport then to the sector, and why is it important to work on this? This will be also from my side, the last question to our speakers, because afterwards we will open the floor to our colleagues. I see already there are some questions in chat. So first, I'm very curious to learn more regarding the relationships from you, Marlan.
Yeah, thank you, Kirsten. That's a very important question, and thank you for asking it. I think the concept of the MRV came into the climate change negotiation process in Cancun Climate Change Conference in 2010. And basically why it was included is because we needed to prompt countries to measure, to report, and verify not only their GHG emissions, but also the climate actions that they were taking, both mitigation and adaptation, and also the support that was needed by developing countries and received by them, and the support provided by developed countries. And so, so this evolved over time from the process, the MRV process that we had, where countries submitted a national communications, a biennial update report, and that went through a process of analysis and then a report back to parties, to the enhanced transparency framework, which is under the Paris Agreement. So the enhanced transparency framework builds upon and enhances the existing MRV process. And it made the links then to the vehicle that most countries use to describe their climate actions and their climate targets, which is the nationally determined contribution, the NDC document. And so with this, then the ETF allows countries then to measure, report, and get that report verified through a team of technical experts in a process called a technical expert review. And then that is subjected to clarifications that parties may ask through a process called the facilitative multilateral consideration of progress. So, so this is how the ETF and MRV is linked together. And so why is it important for the transport sector? So it's for the simple reason that we cannot do anything about something that we do not measure, right? So that's where we start, is to perform a measurement. And so it's important that if we want to take climate action in the transport sector, then what we need to do is we need to start to quantify what's the GHG emissions, and then where can we reduce the GHG emissions in the transport sector, and then what sort of support that we need, what is the financial resources to take those actions, and where are we going to get it from? So the MRV in transport sector helps us answer those type of questions, and then move the climate agenda forward to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. Now, when we look at it globally, the transport sector is not just a country-specific sector. It has links to the trade and economic activity. So therefore, reducing emissions in the transport sector is not only a responsibility of the countries. The countries need to work with other countries to see what are the solutions that's possible, and then to take sign bilateral or multilateral agreements to make those solutions possible globally, because our collective goal is to make progress to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. And you will see there is a lot of momentum, a lot of stuff happening now in the transport sector. You can see it's quite disruptive. Countries are putting in legislation and taking action to phase down the use of fossil fuels in the sector. And then there is a move to cleaner technologies like electric vehicles, and urban planning is changing to reduce the number of trips and to make services more accessible to people so they could use, for example, their bicycle to do that. And then there is a move towards more mass transit systems, use of more mass transit systems, and a lot of research and development is happening to produce cleaner technologies for transport sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much.